For Sunday, October 1st, you have found the Georgia Gang. Topping our agenda today, a guilty plea in the Atlanta bribery scandal. How does that affect Atlanta's mayoral race? And the NFL mess. These and other topics on the Georgia Gang.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
Good morning. I'm Phil Kent, sitting in for Dick Williams. We're glad you could be with us, and I want to welcome Theron Johnson as our guest panelist today. And of course, we have Jeff Dickerson and Alexis Scott. Well, the big news of the week in our Georgia's capital city is the continuing bribery scandal with regard to vendors. And it's obviously a black mark on the Kasim Reed administration because one of his cabinet members, the chief procurement officer, Adam Smith, pled guilty and to bribing a vendor. We don't know who that vendor is. And then this just on Fox 5 last Thursday, they broke a report that another vendor, this time an airport vendor, was raided. His computer and phone was confiscated, and that had to do with a contract that's coming up in 2018. So I want to go down the table here, and I want to get all of your analysis on the impact of this continuing federal investigation.
Well, first of all, it was a little uncomfortable in this chair. I need a slider because I feel like it kind of leans right.
I know it. Yeah, that's my chair. Be careful.
Yeah. But no, listen, it's very disappointing. It is not good news for the hardworking people at the city of Atlanta every single day. And so it's very unfortunate. Adam Smith was a person who has been revered for some time, and to commit the crime that he's basically saying that he's confessed to is very unfortunate, and I hope that he'll be able to get through this and come out and try to be as productive as he can.
Well, Jeff, as I predicted from my sources over the last months, he has flipped. He's giving names, and he's got a lot of information. And how do you see the impact of this? Do you see this continuing and expanding?
I don't know what information Adam Smith might have. Adam Smith might have information about the interactions that he's had with vendors. Beyond that, I don't know what it is. I think that the actions from the Reed administration were clear the minute U.S. attorneys brought this to city's attention. They escorted him out of the building, right? And when you have an organization with this many people, you're going to have some bad apples. You're going to have some people who get, criminalized in some way. And unfortunately, Adam Smith, who had a great record and was highly regarded, was one of those. We've seen this happen before with friends of ours, friends of yours and mine, Phil. And so it's just, it's tough to see. I don't think that it goes much farther than this. I don't think that it's related to the other investigation that the U.S. Attorney is pursuing in City Hall, but we'll see.
Alexis?
No, I agree. It's just a sad situation, and Adam Smith had been there for a long time. He had served under Mayor Shirley Franklin's administration and had been upstanding and a really great procurement officer, but unfortunately he fell prey to this bribery attempt by some vendor or contractor who he met with on a regular basis, and he received cash from him. The report said there was about $30,000 over a period of a year or so, or 2 years I think it was. And it's just really sad to see that happen.
And meeting in the bathroom at $1,000 at a time. I mean, it's inexplicable that you would trade your integrity, right, and your reputation for $1,000 in a bathroom somewhere.
Well, greed takes many forms, and of course the big question is how far is this conspiracy? He could have gotten
more money than that.
Why trade your reputation for that? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, let's go down the table again. Let's talk about the impact of this scandal on the mayor's race. It's November 7th. Will there be indictments or no other indictments until November 7th? That's a big question. My law enforcement sources aren't sure what will happen. But Theron, give us a little rundown on how you think this affects the candidate lineup.
Well, what you saw is all of the candidates who are running for mayor came out and had to basically state their position on these developments. And I think the reoccurring theme you heard from all of them is that if they are elected mayor, they're going to do a full audit to try to restore the public trust in the procurement system. The one thing that I think that we can't do is allow this unfortunate event for Adam Smith to basically amplify this stigma about particularly minority business enterprises who do great work every single day for the city of Atlanta. Now, the one effect that this is going to have is that it has the possibility of encouraging the apathy that we see and really having an enthusiasm gap effect on with white voters, and will they be more motivated to come out and vote for their candidate or less motivated? Or will it sort of dampen the spirits a little bit of African American votes around the city? I mean, this is something that I guarantee you from this day forward, the next 30 plus days, all of the candidates are going to have to answer in their forms. And so I think you will see people start to break away from the pack as far as being more vocal about their opposition to what's going on in the current administration. And you may see some people back this mayor up and this procurement department and this administration as well. So I think it will have a tremendous impact on this mayor's race.
I think,
Jeff, I was just going to go down, either one of you.
Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, it seems that Caesar Mitchell again comes out like he was making a smart statement earlier, a couple of weeks ago. He said, let's hold off on awarding any contracts if we don't have to award. And
In 2018.
In 2018, until 2018. So I think until after the election. So it makes him look prescient about
Well, I
maybe what's
agree,
going
and
on.
also Mary Norwood and Kathy Woolard
They
supported
joined
that.
in that. The other thing, though, I would say is that it also, there was a mayoral forum on Thursday evening in which Vincent Fort took the position to throw all the bums out, right? Everybody at City Hall needs to go. So there is that as well, that, you know, how could they be there not knowing what was going on? So it has the potential to sort of rock the boat, as they're
And Jeff, it seems like, you know, Kasim Reed wants to move ahead with these contracts, but why would you do that in the middle of this investigation?
Why would you?
With the,
Why would you not? Why would you abdicate your responsibility as mayor for the length of your term, or the remainder of your term? It doesn't make any sense for him to do that. He's the mayor of the city of Atlanta until we elect a new mayor, and I think that's going to be in January, until we install a new mayor. And I think that he needs to be able to do his job up until that point. There's no question about it. And that's the way he responded to that, and I think that that was the
even
correct
in the middle of a
response.
corruption probe?
I don't know that we're in the middle of a corruption probe. What I do know is that you've got one city employee, who has pled guilty to taking money, $1,000 at a time, in a bathroom. And that doesn't in any way, in my mind, cast aspersion on the integrity of the mayor. He should still be able to do his job. And I think that he will continue to do his job. I don't think there's any question about it. Will this affect the mayor's race? Of course it will. Ethics is going to be an issue. But will the next mayor be able to police every single employee and their personal integrity? Would you be able to if you were mayor? I think that the answer is no. You can't. You're always going to have some bad apples in the group. Unfortunately, this guy, Adam Smith, succumbed to whatever pressure there was, financial or otherwise. And it's unfortunate. But I think that you'll always have that.
You'll get the last word
Well,
on
one of the
this.
things that's happening too is that, you know, you're starting to see a lot of public polling moving. I mean, it's very clear in the public polling that Keisha Lance Bottoms and Peter Amon have had a bump, and I'm even getting some information before we
With
came
Mary
on the show.
Norwood still being the front
let's be very
runner.
clear. Mary Norwood is still the front runner. I think she's in a good position, but you're seeing a tremendous bump from Keisha Lance Bottom and also Peter Amon. And I think the thing that you're going to have to really wait and see is these fundraising numbers. I mean, Caesar Mitchell has shown a steady pace as far as trying to fundraise, but just keep an eye on how this will affect particularly these people in the second and third.
Well, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I agree with you. I think that Peter Amon is going to be hurt because he was the one that signed those checks for the corrupt contractor E.R. Mitchell, and he hadn't really fully explained that. So I think he's stuck in neutral, in my opinion. We're going to get into the next segment, and stay with us. We've got a lot more topics to cover.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
Welcome back to the Georgia Gang. I'm Phil Kent, sitting in for Dick Williams today. And the topic is always politics right around now. And Theron, you've been following some of the legislative races. In fact, you wrote a piece for Insider Advantage this past week that focused on some. Give us a snapshot of some of the races for the state legislature on November 7th you're looking at.
Well, one of the things, a lot of people are getting bombarded right now with mayor's elections going all across the state, particularly in the metro region, but we're going to have 7 special election House races. And this is really interesting because it's been reported that Georgia was, I think, 45 out of 48 as far as having candidates in competitive races where we didn't even have Democrats run against Republicans. And so what you see now, there's really about 3 races that are coming up, about House District 26, House District 117, and House District 119. And there's particularly one over in Athens where you have an open seat where you have Republicans and Democrats running. But what was very interesting.
Let me stop you on that one because you're talking about Deborah Gonzalez,
correct,
the Democrat over in Athens, Clark County. Interesting division among the Democrats, and that's your turf, but the Republican is being supported by the Democrat mayor of Athens.
Yeah, Houston Gaines is a Republican who's running, and to be fully disclosed, Houston was Mayor Denson's campaign manager. And so I think that he did a really good job in getting her reelected. She came out in support for him. And so, I think it's to be said that Mayor Denson is a person who's been tax commissioner for a very long time in Athens, Clark County, has been a wonderful mayor. But I think the key that I want to make is that this new leader, Bob Trammell, has come in, he's raising money, he's making sure that we got qualified candidates in all of the open seats. And I just think that this is a step towards regaining power and turning Georgia blue again when we have competitive candidates who are going to have resources to make sure that at a time where Republican districts were closing rural hospitals, jobs still lack, Medicaid hasn't been expanded, that Democrats are going to have opportunity to have a message.
Jeff, do you have some races you're watching?
Legislative races?
Yes.
I have really more been focused, particularly this past couple of weeks, on the gubernatorial candidates. Met with Stacey Evans, and I think that she is a very promising Democratic nominee for governor, or could possibly be the nominee, a candidate rather. And also with Casey Cagle, who we all know and has been around a long time, has got a great record and a really good shot at running. He's got a great organization as well, and so that's been my focus the last week. Haven't tuned in quite so much on these legislative races, but the governor's race is going to start.
Let me ask you a quick
soon.
question. What did Stacey Evans tell you about the vicious attack that Stacey Abrams launched on her several weeks ago at that left-wing forum, and basically was refused to condemn the demonstrators, the left-wing demonstrators, the Abrams supporters that drowned her out and wouldn't let her speak?
Really focused on her message. I think that she's just really focused, and she's not so much focused on the opposition and what the opposition is doing and saying, but she's just really focused on her message and getting around and introducing herself to voters and making sure that she's well positioned.
If you had to look in the crystal ball, could she win the Democratic gubernatorial primary?
I think that there's a very great possibility that she could win. You said the Democratic. Right? Yes.
Gubernatorial.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a great possibility that she could win it. She's, everybody knows Stacey Abrams as well. She's popular around the state. She's been minority leader for a long time. But there's a tremendous amount of momentum and support for Stacey Evans.
You mischaracterized what happened there at that event. It was the Netroots Convention, which is
they drowned out Stacey Evans.
They drowned her out because they didn't want to hear what she had to say because of her conservative record, in their opinion. The other thing is they were not sent by Stacey Abrams at all, and they were saying black women trust black women because of an internal fight they were having amongst themselves.
Correct.
When the organization didn't want the black women to.
Don't you think it was wrong that Stacey Abrams did not condemn this disruption? She was asked repeatedly by journalists to condemn it, and she didn't.
Well, she didn't condemn them because she didn't have anything to do with it. With the event itself.
Well, that's not what the Evans people tell me, but one race I'm looking at is actually in my neck of the woods in part of Sandy Springs and part of Cobb County, and that is a district that could flip. It's very competitive. It's represented currently by Senator Hunter Hill, although he's leaving or has left, and there's 5 Republicans and 3 Democrats. Theron, have you been watching that one?
Yeah, I have, and to be fully disclosed, I'm actually supporting Jen Jordan. She's a person who is running for that seat. You also have, I think, competitive people all across the board. But if you look at that district, it's definitely a trending Democratic district. And so I think that Republicans did a very strategic job of waiting to the last minute for Hunter Hill to resign so they can actually get it on the ballot. But that's going to be a very close one to watch.
Well, I agree, and I'm looking at the Republican candidates, and it seems the two are coming out of there, and one of them is Charlie Fiveash in that district, and the other one is Leah Aldridge, who's an up-and-coming female Republican. Any comments on that one?
No, but I would like to go to the Fulton County Commission District 4 race.
Okay.
Last week I mentioned both Reese McCraney and Natalie Hall as the top
Right.
candidates, but there are actually several others running. And I wanted to at least call their names. And this is to replace the seat vacated by Joan Garner's death. It's a special election. And Eddie Lee Brewster, Catherine Flowers, and Stephen D. Lee Sr. Oh, and is it Joshua McNair?
Okay, you got them all in.
I got
okay.
them all in.
Theron, there was news last week about an old friend of yours, John Barrow, the former congressman from over in the Augusta area. He jumped in for Secretary of State on the Democrat side. Was this something you had known was coming?
Well, you know, John had actually been flirting with the idea of getting back in public service for a while. I mean, he's been recruited to run ever since he was defeated in his his congressional seat, District 12. I think what John is going to do is that he's going to bring a diversity to the ticket. You're going to have a person who's going to run. And let's be clear, I want to be fair, Dee Dawkins Hagler out of DeKalb is being mentioned.
She's also running, I believe,
running as well. So
in
it's
the Democratic primary.
So it's not in the bag. I mean, John is going to have to really focus a lot on Metro, and I think Dee is going to definitely be very competitive in this race as well.
Any comments on the Barrow candidacy?
No. Theron's got it covered.
All right, well, that'll be an interesting one when he goes against a Republican in November. When we come back, we're going to talk about a certain DeKalb County sheriff. Stay with us.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Visit their website at fox5atlanta.com.
Welcome back to the Georgia Gang. I'm Phil Kent, sitting in for Dick Williams. And as we turn to more local issues, we had another sad example of a lawman disgracing his badge. We had Post, the certifying agent for the state of Georgia, saying that Sheriff Jeffrey Mann of DeKalb County must lose his sheriff certification. Now, he can appeal that, but Jeff, don't you think that Mann ought to just resign? He was caught in Piedmont Park exposing himself and then trying to run away from a police officer. Why would we want him to continue to be sheriff?
Well, first of all, he wasn't trying to run away from a police officer. He did run away from a police officer. We saw it on video, him running away from a police officer. We've got a sheriff in DeKalb County who is effectively banned from a city of Atlanta park.
All of the parks.
Visit the parks, right?
That probably hurt him the most.
And so, the Post, which certifies law enforcement officers, has decertified a duly elected sheriff. And as such, he cannot serve in that capacity. He has 30 days to appeal, a little less than that now. He will probably do so. The honorable thing for him to have done from the start, not because of the circumstances of his arrest, but because he was caught running from a police officer, primarily because he was caught running from a police officer, the honorable thing for him to do would have been to resign. He still has that opportunity. He should quit.
Alexis, what do you think?
I think exactly what Jeff said is what should happen. It's just very unfortunate that this happened to him, and I can understand the panic and the embarrassment, but to be an officer of the law and then to flee from an arrest is just not acceptable. So I think he's lost his moral standing to be the sheriff of the county.
You know, the thing that's interesting, we were talking about it during the break, I mean, he has an opportunity to appeal. And so the unfortunate thing is that DeKalb County is going to have to go another 30 days plus with this whole conversation about whether he resigns or he doesn't resign. And what's so unfortunate is that it really sort of puts this this negativity on the county at a time where they're trying to move forward. And
I agree. And, you know, I think all of us agree that Michael Thurmond, you know, the CEO, has really tried to put the county back on a better course.
Stabilizing the county.
And it is sad, and I agree he should resign. Well, here's the hot topic nationally and in Georgia, and that is what I call the mess that the NFL, the National Football League, is in over the fact that, and I've always been taught this, I think everyone has been taught this, when the national anthem is played, you stand and you put your hand over your heart. And I think, just as a personal opinion, I think it's very sad that some of the players and the owners perhaps don't fully understand what the anthem is. It's not an anthem promoting Obama or Trump. But I'm going to go down the table. I'm going to go down the table. And I want to hear how can we get out of this very divisive thing where I believe the anthem should be respected by all Americans regardless of race, color, and creed.
Oh, I got an easy answer for that. Tell your president to shut up and do his job.
Well, what about Colin
and stop calling people SOBs and stuff like that? It will be fine.
What about Colin Kaepernick?
We got people over in a U.S. territory, Puerto Rico, and this guy is in Washington concerned about what NFL players are doing, whether they're taking a knee. Really? And we have people suffering.
So
they're American citizens.
So you're in favor of disrespecting the flag.
We had a better response in Haiti, a foreign nation, in 2010 than we had last week in Puerto Rico, because the idiot in chief was tweeting about NFL players.
Now, Jeff, you apparently didn't hear Friday. Let me respond, Alexis, and then I'll turn to you. You apparently didn't get your Democrat talking points. The Democrat governor of Puerto Rico on Friday morning praised President Trump and said, everything I have asked for, President Trump has given. You better get your talking points straight.
No, I don't have to get any talking points together.
Alexis.
We had 40 helicopters there. We had 380.
You want to let your colleague maybe have a minute here?
Okay, so here's the thing. We were all taught to sit in the back of the bus some years ago, that was the thing to do, to be respectful of white people, that black people get in the back of the bus. It doesn't have anything to do with the flag and being respectful of the flag. It has to do with protesting. The original protest was to protest police brutality and the shooting of unarmed black men by police. That was the way that Colin Kaepernick, as I'm saying his name correctly, chose to highlight that issue that has been rampant over the last few years on video thanks to cell phones.
Can't you protest in any other forum rather than at the national anthem?
What would be the appropriate way to protest that would be acceptable to you?
Well, I think you can take a knee or do jumping jacks or anything you want before the national anthem, but at least stand and respect the country, one of the greatest countries in the world that has actually fostered a lot of racial progress.
Well, first of all, let's start with your president. Your president he's been pictured not putting his hand over his heart at Republican debates and standing during the national anthem. That's number one. But the thing is, to Alexis' point, this whole process of whether they're standing to protest the flag is something that Donald Trump made it about.
Not Colin Kaepernick?
No, he from day one said that this was about the injustices that were going on in this country. You had unarmed black men and women being shot by police officers. And so this president, to Jeff's point, decided to divert from what the real issues are, that he's right now under a massive investigation in Russia. He can't keep people in his administration. His administration are misusing taxpayers' dollars. And so I commend the NFL players and the owners who had the courage to stand up to this president and push back.
Including Arthur Blank.
Including Arthur Blank.
So you're for kneeling now during the anthem? You're going to disrespect the anthem?
What I am for, number one, is peaceful First Amendment rights to peacefully protest. That's what I'm for. And number two is that I don't necessarily.
Well, everybody's in favor of that.
Yeah,
during the anthem.
But it's when people like you come on here and spin it and make it about the anthem when it's not.
All right, well, we got to get out. It's going to be time for winners and losers. So stay with us. We could talk about this all day.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
Welcome back to the Georgia Gang. I'm Phil Kent, sitting in for Dick Williams, and I'm turning to Alexis with her winners and losers.
Okay, I've got a lot. I've got congratulations to the West Side Trail of the Beltline is opening this week. The Leona Bar Davenport and the Atlanta Business League for Super Tuesday, and Roxburgh Phillips Reed was inducted into the Hall of Fame. She is a renowned breast cancer surgeon, as well as the founder of Sisters by Choice for breast cancer survivors. And Tom Price is going to be my loser again, because he's really racking up the points in terms of
the Health and Human Services Secretary.
The Secretary of Health and Human Services using private jets to the tune of $1 million instead of taking commercial flights. And he says he's going to pay it back, but maybe he will one day, or maybe he won't have to after he gets fired.
Jeffrey?
Real quick, Atlanta is a winner with the annexation of obviously Emory University and CDC. So is Emory University and CDC. They're winners because they're going to get that, or at least they're in a better position to get that transit line that they've been hoping for and working so hard for. And DeKalb County is also a winner. Everybody's a winner in this deal. DeKalb County used to service that area for fire for free, without anybody paying property taxes, and now they're going to get $10 million for doing the same thing. That's very cool. Well, and the Stonecrest line moves up in priority, right? So everybody wins in that deal. Another winner,
it's all good.
Real quick, the Savannah Bridge instead of the Talmadge Bridge. Wouldn't that be great?
Go ahead, Theron.
Real quick, I want to commend APS and APS students and faculty. We had a 5.9% increase in graduation rate, so now they're up to 77%. Also, I want to commend the DeKalb County Commission. They approved the $500 million SPLOST. So this is going to be a lot of money towards infrastructure, improving roads and bridges and creating new fire stations and libraries. And then my loser is going to be the GOP senators who failed to repeal and replace Obamacare. I mean, they tried 60 times before Trump was elected, and they tried 5 times, and they failed. So they're definitely my loser.
I hear you. My loser is Roger Goodell, the head of the NFL. So come back with us next week for the Georgia Gang. Thanks for being with us.
The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the panelists appearing in this program.